Guys, welcome to Aetherium Capital. Today I'll be talking about one of the best risk to reward plays that I've seen in a company, and this company is none other than Warrior Metco. For those of you guys who have no idea what Warrior Metco does, it actually just mines your metallurgical coal. Metallurgical coal is used in steel making, and thermal coal is used in production of electricity. So, in the long run, thermal coal will actually go to zero as your renewable energy sources and more effective production for electricity sources will actually overtake your thermal coal. However, metallurgical coal is actually tied to the dependence on steel. And as you have countries such as India and Southeast Asia building out infrastructure, the demand of coal is actually projected to continuously increase. And in order to produce steel, there are two methods. The first method is via your conventional blast furnaces, which requires met coal, and there's another type that is electronic furnaces, which does not require met coal. So, to understand this business, we have to first understand what metallurgical coal is. And over here, we can see that Warrior Met Coal has two mines currently, your Mine 7 and your Mine 4. And it is set to increase the production in a new mine, which is called Blue Creek. So, first of all, what you have to understand is that in this type of commodity businesses, the ones who win are what is known as low cost producers. And Warrior Met Coal is actually one of the lowest cost producers in the world globally due to a multitude of factors. So, first of all, if we look at this over here, we can see that this across the world, the Blue Creek mine that is going to come into production in 2027 is actually one of the lowest cost in the whole world. And this over here is called projected seaborne hard coking coal. And as you can see over here, the met coal business, HCC, is one of the highest quality ones. So first of all, why the stock is a 15x? From here, what we can see is that we can see the projected present value of the future cash flows that Blue Creek will generate. So the net present value of Blue Creek currently is around $5.4 billion. And remember earlier, I mentioned that they also own two other mines, your Mine 7 and your Mine 4. So what is the funny thing is currently the market cap of the stock is at $2.2 billion. And the present value calculated of the Blue Creek mining company or the Blue Creek mine is actually $5.4 billion. So the Blue Creek mine by itself is actually double the worth of the market cap. So this over here is an example of severe undervaluation. The stock price currently is around $42 a share, and the net present value divided per share is around $102. So simply from one of their mines, the worth of their mines, it is worth around double of the current stock price. So if you look at this over here, I know this looks a bit messy, but let me reiterate what the reason and the investment thesis. So first of all, what you have to understand is that Blue Creek production starts in 2027, and they started actually building the mine in 2022. So first of all, when they build the mine, they have to put a lot of capital expenditures into the mine, and currently they are putting around $350 million every single year. So over here, as you can see, free cash flow is the operating cash flow minus the capital expenditures. If we add Blue Creek capital expenditures into the free cash flow, we can see that every single year they are turning around 200 to $250 million in free cash flow. So this capital expenditures in Blue Creek will actually stop in 2026 as the production is actually finished, and the maintenance capital expenditure of the mines that they have is actually only around $20 million. So CapEx immediately reduced from 350 millions to $20 million. And this will lead to an increase in the free cash flow of the company by $300 million without the increase in expansion of revenue due to the larger volume produced by Blue Creek. So what we can see over here is if we adjust for the free cash flow, $89 million plus $350 million, we will get a cash flow of around $270 million. And based on the current market cap of 2.24 billion, it is trading at around a 10% free cash flow yield without even accounting for the increase in the volume production. So if we look at the increase in the volume production for Blue Creek, it is expected to increase the volume production by 75% by 2027. So what this means is the free cash flow will increase by 75% if the current coal prices remain the same, and if they are able to extract it at the cost that they are currently producing. So in this scenario, what happens is you will have a 75% growth in the free cash flow. So from 250 million, you increase by 75%. And if you divide by the current market cap, it's trading at around a 20% free cash flow yield. So the thing that you have to understand is that met coal prices currently is actually in a severe downturn. There was a boom post COVID, and it reached a high of around $500 per ton. However, currently it has fallen over 50% and is at around $225 per met ton. And as you can see, during COVID-19, the worst of the worst moments, it hit $125 per met ton. So obviously, the COVID low will not happen again unless there is a global shutdown and a pandemic. And if you include the fact that there is a 50% increase in prices due to inflation from 2020 until now, what you can see is that it is extremely easy to predict that met coal prices will hit a bottom of around 160, $170 if something like COVID occurs again. So if you are at a normalized level without COVID, you are expected to be around 220, $230. And as you can see over here, the incremental free cash flow produced by Blue Creek at $220 will be $535 million. So earlier, the free cash flow, when you reduce the capex, you are at around 250 to $300 million in free cash flow. So from 535, you have to add a further $300 million, which gives you around $800 million. And if you add $800 million to minus $89 million, you get around $723 million. And this $723 million will be in free cash flow by 2027. And this is absolutely amazing because the company will actually give out dividends to the shareholders. So a $700 million free cash flow at a 2.24 billion market cap actually implies close to 30+% in free cash flow yield. And this is absolutely astounding. And if we look at this over here, we can also see the fact that they have been consistently paying out dividends. So, what you have to understand about this company is that the dividend that you see is actually not representative of the dividend that they give to the shareholders. So, they actually give what is known as special dividends, and special dividends are announced when they have excess cash and excess profit. So, in 2017, they actually gave out a shit ton of money to everyone because they were in a cycle boom then. In 2024 and 2023, there was a cycle boom. However, what they did was they actually used the cycle boom cash to actually reinvest into Blue Creek. So instead of paying out a dividend into their shareholders, what they did was they reinvested the money into Blue Creek in order to expand their volume production in the future. So obviously, if there's another boom that comes, what you will see is that you will see that the company will be giving out dividends because they do not have any plans to increase capital expenditures in the future in 2027, 2028, and 2029. So one of the few things that you can see here is that since the 2017 IPO, they actually paid back $1.3 billion in dividends. And recall, this company has a $2.24 billion market cap. So if you have bought the company since inception, it will have returned 50% of your interest, 50% of your principal in dividends. And you also would have gotten a 692% increase in the stock price instead of the S&P's 153%. So this company is extremely compelling due to two reasons. First of all, you will have a decrease in the capex, and what you will see is that there will be a large spike in the free cash flow. And this large spike in the free cash flow will be further aided by the fact that you have an increase in production volume in Blue Creek. And this will lead to a combined effect of large increase in free cash flow. Furthermore, considering that we are currently in a down cycle for your met coal production, what you could see in the future is that met coal prices could spike. And when it spikes, it will further increase the free cash flow to a larger extent. And this will actually lead to higher returns in the long run. So let's look at some valuations that I actually did. So first of all, in the low case, what I assume is that the price range of your met coal is actually around 205 to 220. And this over here is actually quite conservative. And as you can see over here, what will happen is that your free cash flow yield will be around 25%. So what that means essentially is that you are actually having an upside of around 142%. In the medium term, you will have around a 34% free cash flow yield and around a 238% upside. And in the high, you will have 42% free cash flow yield, around a 293% upside. So this over here are basically the upside predictions in about 2 years' time when Blue Creek is in production. And this over here in the long run will actually benefit you greatly because this is a company that actually gives you dividend. So let's look at the potential downsides. So the company currently is actually rich with cash. It has around $600 billion in liquid cash and around $400 million, $500 million in net cash. And what you can see over here, right, is actually currently around 25% of the market cap. So even if the company actually continues to make money and the market cap decreases, this over here is a potential downturn safety net. So, in my opinion, I believe that this company is an extremely good company. It is a company that will actually continuously have a competitive advantage due to the fact that it has a low cost production and the fact that these mines are actually close to the ports instead of other mines. And this over here is a competitive edge that cannot be replicated across other countries. And currently, there are only 7 countries in the world that are able to produce your met code. So I hope you guys found this guys useful. And if you found it useful, do consider subscribing.